Okay, this is Akheel Maharaj,
This is Neil Stacey.
and we're here at Chialan's Gaming Lounge for the World Magic Cup qualifier.
This is the second WMCQ in Johannesburg, and we are here to cover round one, where we have Wesley Lamprecht playing a Rabble red deck against Aidan Thompson with a, let's call it, innovative Maze's End Turbo Fog deck.
Okay, so we've got Wesley on the right in the cap, Aidan on the left in the black. I don't think we're going to be able to get a good view of their hands, but clearly it's the action on the field. Rabble red is a very fast deck, very turn your dude sideways type of deck.
Turbo Fog, on the other hand, is a deck which says, look, it doesn't matter how many dudes you turn sideways, they do zero.
It's a very innovative choice to play. I mean, didn't this deck fall out of favor? Hasn't the Maze's End deck been off the radar for a while?
Yeah, the issue is that Maze's End was, I suppose, a fringe deck back when Snapcaster was available to at least keep refreshing the fog effects. Now, I'm not sure that you can just draw enough to blank every combat step. The deck needs a draw engine in order to keep fogging. If it runs out of fog effects, it dies to the huge number of creatures that accumulates on the board while it's sitting there fogging.
It's very strange that you say that, because I know that Maze's End and all of the guild gates allow this deck to play cards like Sphinx's Revelation, Supreme Verdict, but also splash into other colors. I mean, he could be playing Dreadbore if he wanted to.
Yeah, the fact that Maze's End fetches any kind of guild gate and the fact that he has two of each guild gate means he's definitely playing a 5-color deck. And that can sabotage itself in some ways. The mana can be very inconsistent. Also, every single one of his lands comes into play tapped, and that can be a problem against a deck as fast as Wesley's Rabble Red.
Which is a very surprising Rabble Red deck. We've seen it splash white for Chain to the Rocks. Very interesting player to call there. Do you not think he wants more creatures?
The quality of the spells you get access to with the white splash is just higher than what you have with the mono red. I think that he's probably running the white splash for a better matchup against mono blue. Chain to the Rocks gives you removal that actually works on Master of a Wave, which under other circumstances completely blanks the Rabble Red deck.
We see a Legion's Initiative main board and another copy sideboard. What do you think that helps with?
I think it improves the control matchup, because you can use the activated ability to obviously dodge a Supreme Verdict, and the fact that it increases the power of all your creatures means you can develop a threatening board while committing fewer creatures, so you can force your opponent to verdict while having fewer creatures on the board, so you can retain some more gas in your hand. And of course, after the verdict, even if you can't flicker your creatures with the Legion's Initiative, it remains on the board if you're not flickering. So you keep some of your board presence past a verdict with the Legion's Initiative.
I see that the Rabble Red deck takes a lot of pain from its own lands. We've got the Sacred Foundries, we've got the Mana Confluence, and the Battlefield Forge. Interesting matchup now that the Turbo Fog deck actually has no way of dealing damage, does it?
Yeah, Wesley's mana base isn't going to hurt him at all in this matchup. His life total doesn't matter. Aidan's deck has no way of killing him by reducing his life to 0.
I suppose this is one of those matchups where as long as you have life left, you're in the game.
Yeah, Wesley just has to be careful not to deal a full 20 damage to himself and he'll be fine.
I see some very interesting choice of cards here. I see an Elixir of Immortality in Aidan's deck. Very interesting. I've been a very big proponent of this card.
The life gain is, I suppose, relevant. It buys an extra turn. It pretends to be another fog. And like I was saying earlier, the deck has to be able to keep drawing fog effects.
And here
what
we see
Elixir
it
does
as
is it puts them
turn-2
back
player
in the
right here.
library. Meanwhile, we have a fast start from Wesley with turn 1 Foundry Street Denizen, followed by a Legion Loyalist, and a Fire Drinker Satyr. So that means he's going to get in for 4 damage this turn, and he has 5 power on the board.
Quite an impressive
4 power for next turn, 5 if he is able to trigger Foundry Street Denizen. This is what the Rabble Red deck is designed to do. Kill you before you get off the ground.
On the other hand, this is what Maze's End is doing, which is a little bit of nothing here.
He has 2 mana open to at least activate the Elixir so he can protect his life total a little bit, but then he's putting himself behind on cards.
It's sort of going to mitigate the 5 damage that you mentioned, but it's not going to recycle anything, and if he draws it again, it's going to be very late in the game.
And realistically, Wesley will still have all those creatures that dealt that damage. So
I see we have more
Aidan's
power
putting
for
himself
people.
down behind a card. Yeah, that's Eidolon of the Great Rebel. That means every one of Aidan's fog effects is going to deal him 2 damage when he casts it. And now we have Wesley going in for
Yep, there's
5
the top
damage.
of the elixir.
Which
So 5
negates
damage.
the 5 damage, but Aidan's used a card and Wesley still has all his creatures on the board. It doesn't look like this game is going to last much longer. Wesley has a very scary board presence and Aidan's life total is already dropping quickly.
I like that this is the control versus aggro matchup. This is the matchup that everybody wants to see. A deck that wants to end it quickly versus a deck that wants it to go on super long.
Yeah, and there is no slower win condition in Standard than Maze's End. Requires you to get 10 different guild gates out, so it can be agonizingly slow.
I see
That's a chromatic lantern, which supports Aidan's ambitions of being a 5-color deck. If he's drawn the wrong guild gates, he can still make any color of mana.
And yet it looks like he's going to face down another full-on swing this turn.
Yeah, Wesley now has 3 mana available, which opens up his biggest play, the Goblin Rabble Master. I don't think that he has one in hand, but he certainly has more gas there.
You see a Satire Fire Drinker in hand.
Yeah, I don't know what Aidan is going to do about that Eidolon of the Great Revel. Unless he's holding a Supreme Verdict, he is in a great deal of trouble.
Okay, there's
Wesley
the Fire
commits
Drinker.
more to the board with the Fire Drinker Satyr. That gets him a trigger on the Foundry Street Denizen, so it's now a 2-1. That means if I have this right, he's able to attack with 7 power. Yeah, and Wesley's
Yes,
cracking
here's
in.
the swing.
He has 2 mana open, so he has the option of activating the Fire Drinker Satyr to bump it up to 8 damage.
I think that's what he just did. There
Yeah.
you go.
I can't see the life totals clearly, but I think Aidan is down to 6 now. With the... Oh, that is a Supreme Verdict right off the top.
Wow, what a top deck.
That is
What a top deck.
5 creatures going into the bin. So that is one way he can get rid of the Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Does it still ping him for the 2 damage?
No, because it's only spells that cost 3 or less. Supreme Verdict, of course, costs 4. But can Wesley still get the last points of damage in? He's able to rebuild. He's got Arachnos Cackler.
Unleashed, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think Wesley plans to do much blocking this game. Oh, he has another Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Aidan is back in trouble once again. That top card didn't look like a Supreme Verdict this time.
I think we see more land in his hand.
Yeah? Aidan looks to be back in trouble.
There's the swing.
Wesley goes in for 4.
I think that leaves him on 2. If he
I
plays...
think he
a
can't
spell-
play spells that cost less than 4. Even a life gain spell at this point.
Pass his turn.
Lightning Strike, that will seal the deal all by itself.
And that's the end of game 1.
I'm not too sure what Aidan can bring in from the sideboard for this matchup. So we'll have to see how he does in game 2.